By 2006, so many manufacturers had fled Canada that Hermann Gruenwald discovered an opportunity, a hole in the sock-making industry. No one was making made-in-Canada socks. So Gruenwald invested $2 million in the latest technology and became Canada's newest sock maker. Imagine the reaction.
When we opened up and we tried to make appointments, the first question was, what? We are flexible, we can make Canadian product, the quality is good.
His plan is to compete head-on against the Chinese. He can match the price of imports, and he can turn around customized socks faster than any foreign factory could. Gruenwald's only problem, getting retailers to believe it.
I think the retailers are brainwashed. There's no such a thing. You cannot open up a company today and compete with the Far East. So give us the opportunity. They say, they believe it, because nobody ever done what I have done.
They do not see themselves as remnants of a dying industry, but rather the evolution. And they hope Canadians will help them evolve further.
I started my hosiery, regular hosiery business for ladies 50 years ago. I actually started it in Quebec City, and then I moved this place in 1964. And since then, we're making hosiery. At the time when I opened up, I'm not sure if I knew what I was doing, as there was about 100 companies in manufacturing. And soon after we started my hosiery manufacturing, the industry started to shrink and new machines were coming out. And to jump to 50 years later, you see, there's only a very few of the 100 companies that exist. And I'm very fortunate that I'm still able to compete with the Far East. At the time, I think the ladies helped us, because the fashion was that the ladies wear pantyhose. And when pantyhose came in 1967, obviously the ladies would not walk without a pantyhose. I think the average user was 24 pair a year. So we were producing, I think, close to 10, 11 million dozen. I'm ashamed to say how many dozen do we produce today. So basically it had a lot to do with the fashion, and the socks became part. The ladies wear socks today instead of pantyhose.
Right.
So that's why there's only a few left of us. But fortunately, I'm one of them. When the free trade came along, originally, I think, as you know, the dollar was very close to par. And then, by the time the dollar dropped to 30, 40, 50%, the Far East competition came along. So because of that, all the manufacturers had simply closed. This was the ladies' hosiery. Later on, the socks were going along for a while yet, and now it reached a similar point that the sock industry is really completely closed down, and very few left in Canada. Mm-hmm. And most of the socks are imported.
Tell me, when you heard that the federal government was planning on lifting the tariffs on Chinese imports, when you knew that that was going to happen, what did you say to yourself?
Well, it didn't lift the Chinese import. Actually, it only gave 50 countries duty-free. The import from China, since Trudeau, when opened up the line, China was not really a great exporter. But what happened here, because of the Canadian dollar and the American dollar difference, it became very expensive. So the manufacturers realized that they can close down. They did not want to invest into new automated machinery, and they simply closed down, took their machinery, and brought it to the Far East. And China, on the other hand, developed very modern factories, and we in Canada, we didn't do that. And obviously the labor and the minimum wage going from $5 up to $8, that didn't help. And a lot of manufacturers didn't want to invest the money, because the retailers themselves went to and opened up companies in China, and they were able to buy direct. By nature, I like to go against the trend. And I really believe, at a time when I opened up the hosiery company 50 years ago, was also a lot of manufacturers were open. But I believe that if you make a good product and you automate your factory completely, I think you're able to compete and convince the retailers that it's much easier to buy from a Canadian because our reaction time, delivery time is much easier than from import. And you always get the same product. Now, coming to the socks, which actually we want to talk about at this particular time, every manufacturer closed down. And when I checked into it, I have found that there are fully automated socks machinery available, but it's very labor intense. So at least that you have a Canadian base for manufacturing hosiery, and when we calculated the cost, we came to the conclusion that we can actually compete with most of the product, not with everything, not at the very cheapest one, but most of the product with the Far East import. Now, when we opened up and we tried to make appointments, the first question was, what? How come that how are you going to compete with the Far East? So the only thing we want is to give us the opportunity to show that we can make Canadian product very close to the price what they bring here from Far East. And how long we think that is going to last the Far East? Sooner or later they're going to raise their prices. The quality which is coming in is not always the same once we check in on a store level, because one item comes from one country, the other item from the other country. And it's very difficult to control merchandise which is made of stretch fabric. So you really would have to examine every fabric individually to make sure that you're getting the same product. We do that here. And I really believe that with this fully automated high-tech machines, as you have seen, that we're actually getting a socks done completely ready-made. Only thing we have to do is board it and ship it the next day if it's necessary. We use high-quality dyed yarn, so we don't have to go bleaching, we don't have to worry about environment. The thing which actually is very important, this one, and you certainly basically be assured that nothing can happen that when that an environmentally incorrect finally is in the stores, which have happened many times lately in the United States and also in Canada.
Going to be in the quick turnaround. Tell me how that works.
For example, this morning we asked our mechanic to make us a product where we're going to have an appointment with the organization Root. And we asked him, and here is the product, which took him 1 hour and produced the socks on the Roots label. So it takes 1 hour to basically develop a new product, a new style, basically, a new style that we can do it.
And in China,
and if you would,
how long would that take?
Well, obviously you have to contact China and make sure, get a sample, do it. But that's not really the important thing. The important thing is that the cost of these socks is basically similar, because the raw material is an international price. And today, especially with our Canadian dollar, which is 5–6% stronger than the US dollar, we'll be able to save on the raw material and we'll be able to transfer it to the consumer. So let me give you another example. I have here, for example, this is that I picked up in a store, in a large food chain. Okay, they're selling this 3 pair for $6. I mean, there's absolutely clear to us when I look at it that they can buy it from us. The question is to sensitize the retailers that there is a company now, a new company, a reliable company, which can deliver to them. But
because you're meeting some kind of resistance.
Well, it's not resistance. It's an unbelievable. I think the retailers are brainwashed. There's no such a thing. You cannot open up a company today and compete with the Far East. So give us the opportunity. They say, they believe it, because nobody ever done what I have done, that opening up a company today. So the first reaction of the retailer is, what? He said, but then they said, you know what? We're very happy. We're sick and tired, simply see only countries, which I don't want to name, from the Far East. And some of the retailers called me up and said, please come and show us. And we did receive the orders. With this, not necessarily from, we have appointment from the last change, which appointments we couldn't get, because to get an appointment is a little more difficult than with the medium size. But we have, for example, companies like Hart, like Roots. We called up and immediately they said, come to us. The other companies, my people tell me that they are welcoming us. So I'm very happy to see it. And I hope that the larger chains, the larger department stores will also realize that we can give them the best-selling styles as fast delivery as possible. As the individual, like friends and people that I talk to, we opened up socks and we show it to them. He said, you know, the consumer, I think the consumer itself is sick and tired see continuously the made here and made there in the forest. If they would see a Canadian socks, which may be 10 cents or 15 cents higher, they all assure me I would rather buy Canadian.
When you told people that a couple of years ago when you said, I'm going to start manufacturing socks here in Canada and I'm going to price them competitively against China, what kind of reaction did you get?
Well, it wasn't against China, I would say, against the Far East period.
What reaction did you get?
Probably in their own mind, probably they thought that I lost my mind. But on the other hand, I think they figured, well, let's see. I don't think anybody believed that I'm doing the right thing. However, I think the consumer are the ones who should start to ask questions. So you're talking about retailers, the government says reduce the price. Reduce the price. But the Minister of Finance doesn't mention, even today in the newspaper, where he's trying to give away $60 million, which in principle I don't object, but nowhere it says that they will support Canadian manufacturers and they will talk to retailers, not reducing the price, but try to buy Canadian. Now, yes, maybe it's not a big thing for them because I am the only one who opened up I'm the only one who opened up, so maybe it is completely new and maybe they will help me to do it. But however, I think that the government, the retailers and the manufacturers should get together and really see that when a buyer meets suppliers, did they examine the fact that there is a Canadian also, that maybe they can deliver?
Well, the story that you're in, Mr. Gruenwald, you are one of 3 people in very different sorts of product lines. But you all have the same kind of experience. They're all of them going, I'm Canadian, I'm employing Canadians, I'm more environmentally friendly than
we have no choices, you know, we have to be.
And what we need is awareness and help.
Yeah.
You're all having the same problem.
Yes, but I believe that probably they didn't want to take the chance. They didn't examine it, and it's much easier to sell first and then import after, by manufacturing and having all the necessary, all the problem that goes with manufacturing. I like challenges, and I felt that I want to take this challenge, and I really am very hopeful that I'm going to achieve what I expect.
We're talking to you about socks, but in fact one of the reasons I came to you is because you've been in the business of manufacturing, and so have these other people, for a long time. And my question to you is, not just for your company, but for manufacturers who find a niche, small as it might be for them, can manufacturing of clothing succeed, survive in Canada with all of the different global pressures that just keep getting laid on it?
Yeah, but we're not talking about totality. We're talking about a niche. I believe that before the automated machineries came out to produce, for example, socks, I do understand that they had to go. But I don't believe that any manufacturer who gave up the factory should have given it up totally. They should have kept a certain amount of hosiery that they can react as Canadian, and import 50%, 60% or 70%. But as the buyers and the retailers accepted the fact that everything could be imported and not Canadian, it's much easier to import. It was imported. But today, because of the Canadian dollar, nobody ever believed that the Canadian dollar is going to come down to 93 cents. So now the total is changed because we are able now buy cotton 30–40% cheaper. Because remember, not too long ago, the dollar was $1.20, $1.30, and $1.40. That basically gave me, when I saw that the Canadian dollar coming down, they also assured me that I'll be able to buy the raw material cheaper, and I'll be able to compete because of that. And the automated machines, and the attitude of the consumer, and the retailers. For example, Walmart of Canada advertised in the Time magazine, as I don't know if you have seen it or not, that they want to support companies who open up and to support. I can show you the article what the president of Walmart said at the Chamber of Commerce not too long ago. They're even ready to sacrifice their gross profit if they will find out that we manufacture in Canada. So I think the attitude and the philosophy is there, but now we have to really prove to them, number one, and second of all, they really have to adjust. The retailers have to adjust their thinking that there is a reliable company, a Canadian company, and once they show that what their needs are, we'll be able to give them the kind of product that they need. I think the consumers also have to think that they have to be Canadian. I'm an immigrant to this country, and I think I think like a Canadian. This country gave me the chance, and I really believe that we have achieved our success here financially, so we should take the risk and help Canadians to employ Canadians, because the people who work, most of them in my factory, are basically minimum wage plus. Okay, so where are they going to get jobs if all the companies close down? But it's really the consumer should look at the tag, but sometimes the tag is marked so small that I myself cannot read it. So they don't even know that it comes from the Far East. Now, there are items which obviously where is labor intensive, large labor intensive. That's a difficult thing to do it. But we should, the retailers should sneak out what is automated, that we can automate, and propose to us, look, if you're going to automate, which by the way Walmart does it, at every meeting I go, I said, you automate your factory, we assure you that you're going to buy it. But all other retailers are actually trying to do the same thing now, because obviously competition makes it important. But there is another important fact that I want to bring to your attention, is, for example, here is a socks, beautiful socks. It says Canada. I was very proud when in 1967 finally Canada became independent and has the institution, and we had on our flag, and we have the label. I walked into one store and I see this to sell for $2 a pair, which means made in China. So where is our morality that even a Canada product? Now anybody who wants to buy a name Canada on a socks, it really won't make any difference that they would pay 10% or 50% more for a socks. And I think that this is the sensitivity which must be transferred to the consumer. Now, I want to bring another point up to you, is for the government. We are paying, I import the raw material because it's not made in Canada. And anything which is not made in Canada, the duty should be taken off. So the government is penalizing me with an 8% duty. So how can I cannot give a better price for 8%. Now, the 8% texturized yarn, for example, we buy texturized yarn. I have to buy out of the country because Canada doesn't make it. So this is a socks. So this is a socks. Well, I think that the government should take out the duty. Because I'm employing Canadian, I don't hurt the Canadian manufacturers by selling me that. So why wouldn't they do it? We have been required it for a long time already, and it's still on. That's what I mean by the Canadian government should examine. I don't think that I should go to the Canadian government and tell them what has to be done. They should know before me that what is necessary to be done. The government went and said, we are Canada. Now, we go and advertise in Las Vegas that we are Canada, but in Canada, we don't talk about it. I would have liked to see that the finance minister said, but ladies and gentlemen, we're going to give you the $60 million tax rebate, but please try to buy Canada whatever you can.
I think that's a good point.
One of the things is for example, in the United States, obviously, the United States is in the same position as we are when it comes to import. Most of the hosiery companies are gone, but not as bad as in Canada, because they have a quota system. So they can only bring in a certain amount, so that is a protection for the American manufacturers, that they can at least 50 or 60% survive the crash. So you need manufacturers, and they exist very well. So I think the government should do something about it, that if a Canadian opens up manufacturer, and they should speak to the retailers and advertise and sensitize the consumers, obviously.
Right.
And for the consumers, the only thing I can say is that please look at the label, because you're helping Canada as a country, and this is your duty.